What's up, guys? Beautiful day here in Ohio today, and as you can see, we got trim on this side done, but meantime, got the other side done. Ran into unforeseen issues on both sides of it, so took some time, but we got it. Anyway, I messed up my Malibu. I ripped the front bumper off, as much as I hate to admit it, but floodwaters, shit happens. Had to get to work somehow. So I got a Dodge Journey as a rental. We're gonna do an honest review of it. It ain't gonna be a good one either. Other update I forgot to mention is after having the car for going on 5 years now, finally got the radio put in. Ignore it, it's a little bit crooked. Previous owner had cut the hole out larger to fit a CD player in there. It is what it is. It matches the rest of the car. Not that nice. Speakers are mounted in the back. I got a CT Sounds amplifier to mount back there. It's gonna need to be loud. The car's loud, so I'm gonna have to have stereo so we can actually hear it. Unlike Garrett's car, you can barely hear it. So that's the updates with the blind mirror. Not much has changed other than finally making things a little bit nicer, weather stripping, the trim, radio, etc. It's a more pleasant place to be. And the other thing I need to add is a vintage air system, because this thing, I drove it yesterday, it was 91 degrees out. Going to see my grandparents wasn't bad. Coming home, I was roasting in here, so I know air conditioning robs a little bit of horsepower, but F it, putting air conditioning in the car at some point, hopefully soon. Alright guys, so I told the rental car company I'm a Chevy guy. Well, they asked if they have a preference. Told them I'm a Chevy guy. So they give me this. A goddamn Dodge Journey. I don't know what year it is. It probably says on the keychain. Really small print. Can't see it. Don't care. Doesn't have many miles on it. I'm assuming it's pretty new. Anyway, let's start with the pros of this thing, and there ain't very many. At night, the interior lights up, kind of cool. The blue lights, looks kind of neat. Seats are comfortable, and that's about it. It has third row seats. I know some people care about that. I don't. However, if you look in the third row seat, they're pretty useless, kind of like the back of an F-body. Seats are there. Are they really usable in a pinch? That's about it. So let's go on, we'll look at the inside, and we'll talk about all the cons. All right, so we're in here, and the interior isn't a terrible looking interior. Chrysler tried with it. However, there's plenty of things about the interior that I do not like. One, the air conditioning in this thing freaking sucks. The air doesn't come out that cold, and it doesn't blow that hard. So for me to go, like, I ended up just remote starting it, or getting in here and starting it, let it run for like 5 to 10 minutes to hopefully cool it down a little bit before I go to work. If I want to sweat my ass off on my way to work, I'll drive the Camaro. Like, at least I'll look cool doing it. And this thing, it's a mom vehicle, and yeah, it's hotter than hell in here. I can imagine if you had kids, it would not be a good time for them in the back, because the air doesn't blow out that hard, and it's not that cold, and sitting up here ain't a fun time, so I'm assuming back there isn't any better. Next thing, the cruise control. I don't like the way the cruise control is set up. Malibu, it got a little rocker switch on this side. You hit the rocker switch, and then it's like a big switch, and it rocks here. And then there's another rocker switch right here, I guess you'd call it, and set the cruise control. You push it down, boom, you're good. And in the Malibu, when I set the cruise control at 60 miles an hour, it keeps me at 60 miles an hour. And this thing, when I set it at 60, sometimes I'm going 61, sometimes 62, sometimes up to 64. Or I'm going 59, 58, 57, 56. It's like a plus or minus 5 mile an hour range around 60. Like, when I set the cruise control at 60 mile an hour in this thing, it's more of a suggestion than actually setting a cruise control. The next thing, the radio. Base model radio, it doesn't sound that great, whatever. But all of the HVAC controls to adjust where you want, you know, defrost or hitting you in the face or down at your feet or everything, it's on the screen. So in the Malibu, I hit a button, I don't have to look. I can keep driving and just reach down and hit the button, and the air will do what I want. And this thing, on the other hand, I gotta look at the screen. I gotta figure out which one it is on the screen for climate. Then I have to go and figure out which button to hit to, you know, direct the air in the direction that I want it to go. That is annoying. I would rather just have physical buttons, not everything in the infotainment center, as they call it. Like, come on. And then, if this screen takes a crap, how are you gonna adjust your HVAC? If the screen doesn't work, or you know, you're shit out of luck there. Next thing, the shifter. I don't know what's up with the shifter. I don't like these gated shifters. I mean, if you had like a super badass race car, I seen one where it kind of did that and it was real notchy, but that was probably a quality shifter. This thing here is not a quality shifter. You know, it rattles, you know, it rattles around, and again, you gotta, for the Malibu, it's just, you know, boom, boom, boom. I know you know, I'm either in drive, manual, or neutral mode. For this, you kind of have to pay attention to make sure you're in the right notch, because you can't just count, you know, how far the shifter moves back, because it goes back and sideways at the same time. What is up with that? I would rather just have a straightforward, pull it straight back shifter, not any of this crap. And then the other thing too, the Malibu has a trigger on the shifter that you got to push to pull it past. If you want to pull it in manual mode, you got to pull the trigger. If you can't just bang it forward into reverse, it has a lockout. This doesn't have any of that jazz. It might have an electronic lockout, but there's nothing on the shifter, that a button I got to push to be able to pull it. I'm sure if I hit the brake, I could shift. Well, no, I can't just hit the brake. It probably has to be on. But yeah, in the Malibu, there is a manual lockout in the form of a trigger on the front of the shifter you have to pull to be able to, you know, put it in reverse and then put it again, and you got to be able to pull it and you know, take it back. There's no safety feature. It's just, the shifter freaking sucks. When you're driving this down the street, it goes in a straight line. Granted, it feels like it could use a lot bigger sway bars. It feels like it's very top heavy. My actual parents, they test drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee one, or no, it was a Jeep Liberty, and the same thing. It was super twitchy. Well, it was super top heavy and super twitchy. And I see Chrysler's still doing the same thing. The fuel economy of this thing, it sucks down gas pretty good, and it's only front wheel drive. I don't know what motor's in it, don't really care. All I know is that the fuel economy on this is not good, or not great, I should say. The Camaro would be not good, but I didn't build that thing for fuel economy. This, on the other hand, you know, it should be fairly decent. And then, yeah, so I freaking hate this thing. I guess the ride on it isn't terrible. I guess it does ride pretty good. The transmission in it doesn't seem to be jerky. The Malibu, I noticed with the 6-speed transmission, sometimes it's a little jerky. It'll do some of that stuff to you, but once I got used to driving the car and figuring out how to shift, I can pretty much avoid that now. You know, every now and then it'll give me a little bit of a jerk, but this hasn't done any of that. Just what I've noticed with the gearbox is, you know, the cruise control is more of a suggestion than actual cruise control. Alright, so there you have it. I know this has been kind of a long rant, but there is my honest opinion on the Dodge Journey. I'm assuming this is probably like a 17, 18, maybe even a 19. I don't know what year it is. Not gonna find out. Kind of a long rant, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't like Chrysler products. I don't care for Jeeps. I see why people buy them, but I wouldn't buy one. They're overpriced and you're not getting a good value. I don't like Ram trucks. They rot out. They're having all kinds of issues with the new Hemi. I had a guy I worked with traded in a 2013 Ram, had 80,000 miles on it, And it had one hell of a top end tick. Probably the greatest thing he ever did was trade that fucker in before it grenaded an engine. So yeah, and everybody, a lot of people that I've known, I won't say everybody that I know, but a lot of people that I've known who've had or owned Chrysler products have had bad experiences with them. Their quality is hit or miss at best, and granted they're getting better, but they haven't been able to figure it out for the last 50 years. So what makes me think that they're going to figure it out in the next 50 years? Whatever. Anyway, if you made it to the end of this, thank you. Please consider subscribing, and you guys have a killer week. Alright, I checked. Rear HVAC controls are not available on the monitor. So if you want to adjust the rear air conditioning or heating, depending on what time of year it is, you're shit out of luck. You're getting in the back seat to check it. What kind of design is that, Chrysler?